When it boils down to it, we're all a little weird.
What the hell did you just say?
And while some of those oddities we may openly accept and share amongst our friends, there are certain things that are part of us or things that we do regularly that we would never actually openly admit to anybody else.
I love lamp.
But the good news is that these things are actually a lot more common than you may think. So I've put together a list of 7 things that we all do, but for some reason or another, won't admit.
Give me the good stuff!
Number 1 is we pretend we're paying attention or that we heard what was just said. We've all had that moment where we're talking with someone and, initially we were listening with good intentions, but eventually we just kind of drifted off into la la land. And when we eventually are brought back into the space and are kind of questions like, hey, don't you agree? We'll often say, yeah, as if we did pay attention and hear everything that was being said. But if they were to dig a little bit deeper, we'd be like a deer caught in headlights, not knowing anything of what was just shared with us. We've all had these moments, and for some reason, we won't just admit that when we're questioned, oh, sorry, I drifted away, or sorry, I didn't pay attention. Instead, we'll just keep up this facade, hoping that they don't dig deeper. Number 2 is that we look busy to avoid people. This is honestly one of my favorite things to observe in myself, and even more so in others. And the best way to illustrate it to you is through an example. Imagine yourself walking down a sidewalk, and you see in the distance someone that you don't particularly want to talk to right now, and you know that if you do make eye contact, you're going to have to do it. So what do? We pretend to look busy. We suddenly become really preoccupied with that building to the left as if there's something so important there. Or we pull out our phone and read a bunch of old text messages because there is nothing new for us to check. Anything to decrease your chances of having to connect with that person that you clearly don't want to talk to.
I am very sure that I don't know what you're talking about.
Number 3 is we exaggerate for impact. Whether it's exaggerating about how long you were stuck in traffic or it's exaggerating about how boring your summer is, for some reason we all have this natural little inclination to make things worse than they actually are. It's not to say that the experiences inherently weren't challenging to go through or weren't something that is worth noting or bringing out to other people, but for some reason we like to take it that extra mile to really prove a point or really drive something home. Number 4 is that we love being a bystander. It's not that we necessarily love seeing bad things happen to other people. It's just there's some little part of us that for some reason, that we definitely won't admit to, enjoys being one of the select few that gets to observe it firsthand.
Oh, and this one time at band camp?
We seem to have this little part within us that loves the ability to say that we actually saw something that we had nothing to do with. Number 5 is that you're a sucker for likes. I don't care how frequently or infrequently you use social media, we all get that little rush, which some researchers have linked to being a dopamine hit, when we do get likes on our content or anything that we share. So even though we all proclaim that we just share what comes to mind and it doesn't really matter how people react to it, deep down, we secretly love that picture that got us 150 likes more than we do the one that got us 15 the day before.
Oh, I'm so happy I can't even feel my arms.
Number 6 is that we creep one another online. While many of us may be willing to admit that we creep our exes or former partners, there's not too many of us that are willing to admit that we also just creep random people that we barely know or that we haven't seen or talked to for years. We've all had those moments where you started off just seeing what's going on and then 20 minutes went by and suddenly you're 3 years deep in their history and looking at pictures from their kid's 6th birthday.
What's the matter with you?
We've all been there. I don't know why, but we all have.
Oh, thank God.
Number 7 is that we read some of the stupidest articles online simply because they're in list form. I know this seems insanely hypocritical, but I did it by design. Of course I put this article and this video into a list form knowing that it would increase the chances that you would want to read it or engage with it. And we all do these things, whether it's reading 35 guy names and what that name means that they are likely to treat you in a relationship, or 10 signs that she is showing you that you're not realizing. We've all read these articles that we got suckered into that we'll never admit or share with our own followings.
Are you messing with me right now?
To see a new video like this weekly, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel or to like me on Facebook to be a part of my mission to make personal development more interesting for both of us.